It is a very wet and cold morning along Union Pacific's Evanston subdivision located in Echo Canyon, Utah. A clear signal is seen in the distance. This signal isn't for a normal train, it is for a train that everyone has been waiting for, the Union Pacific Big Boy number 4014. The Union Pacific number 4014 was built in 1941 by the American Locomotive Company, also known as ALCO. A total of 25 Big Boys were ever produced and were all for the Union Pacific Railroad. These monsters were made to carry heavy freight trains from Cheyenne, Wyoming to Ogden, Utah on Union Pacific's Evanston subdivision. ALCO called these locomotives 4884s due to their wheel arrangement. During manufacturing, an unknown employee from ALCO wrote the words Big Boy on the front boiler and the name stuck. With a weight of 1.2 million pounds and 7,000 horsepower, what better name than the Big Boy? Even despite the cold temperatures in the snowy, rainy April morning, lots of people showed up to see it roll by. This is the descent of the Big Boy heading railroad west to Salt Lake. We would chase the Big Boy from Emory, Utah to Salt Lake, and another day, Ogden to Evanston. Let's get into it now. An eastbound Union Pacific intermodal train rolls by Emory, Utah as everybody prepares to see the Big Boy. The cold and wet morning makes 4014's steam billow out. Big Boy heads west through Emory. With traffic being very heavy through Echo Canyon, due to the Big Boy, we decide to pull off to the side of Highway 84, just west of Echo, Utah, at a place called Hennifer. We jump back onto Highway 84 and get ahead of 4014 also in Hennifer. Seeing the train pass along these red rock walls only made the chase better. Between Hennifer and Morgan, the Big Boy continues to follow the highway. The scenery makes 4014 and its train look like a painting. steam continues to pour out of 4014. The engineer Ed Dickens slowed the train down well for some upcoming trestle bridges. Called maintenance of way or MOW equipment, the yellow vehicle-looking machines on a track next to the big boy help with fixing the track. We pace the train once again between Hennifer and Morgan. The front of the train dives down below a hill. Cars and trucks galore are in pursuit with the big boy. Light snow falls as we capture the big boy on the side of Highway 84.
Dispatcher, UP4014 West. As you just want me to check in with you. We're all stopped here at the east end of Echo. Just wondering where the next eastbound train is. I'll catch you with Morgan. May not see another eastbound this trip. I've got one working in Ogden. I don't think he'll leave before you guys go by there. Over. Copy that. We should not see another eastbound for the remainder of the trip. Is that correct? Yeah, once you get down in the Salt Lake Terminal area, might be a little bit different, but I do not anticipate you seeing anything else on the Evanston sub other than the one you just met here a minute ago. Over. Copy that. Sounds good. Thanks for the update. Appreciate it. UP4014 West up. Gotcha.
The light snow sure didn't keep the crowds of people away from seeing the big boy at Morgan. Morgan is a whistle-stopping inspection point for 4014. The crew of 4014 is seen and heard greasing the wheels.
the full platform as we walk down the street that way. You can see it like everywhere.
The Morgan County Fire and EMS team stood in awe as they looked at the size of 4014. A clear block signal for main track number 2 is seen. This is telling the big boy to proceed at track speed. At an area called Mountain Green, just off Highway 84, Big Boy heads west, going around a few twists and turns. Heading towards Uinta, we see the big boy again paralleling Highway 84. Next to an overpass in Uinta, the big boy is seen rolling next to green grass and trees. To put into perspective, the traffic as well as the people out seeing the big boy 4014 was immense. A large amount of cars watch as 4014 starts climbing up grade. A single headlight can be seen for miles down a straight piece of track in West Bountiful. Engineer Ed Dickens talked to a foreman in charge of a track gang doing work on or near the tracks. Called a Form B restriction, trains must get permission to enter the foreman and track gang's work zone. The location of a track gang is determined by colored boards next to the tracks. After getting permission to enter the Form B, Big Boy starts climbing up grade. We can hear the classic chugging sound of 1.2 million pounds of steel for miles. Big Boy 4014 has finally arrived in Salt Lake City. We stand at the Utah Transit Authority, also known as UTA, Salt Lake Station platform to watch the train backing up for its stop for the night. A conductor is seen at the rear car of the train, protecting the shove. The passenger cars on this train are from the Union Pacific Heritage Fleet, having names that have been a part of or helped the railroad on the sides. A circular 4014 sign hangs over the rear car. The Union Pacific car has a historic exhibit inside, where you can learn about Union Pacific's history.
That's 1994 in California for the town. Really? Yeah. That's Jones High Church in 1994 with the town.
You tell me this 25 an hour?
Two Union Pacific Electromotive Diesel, also known as EMD SD70M type locomotives, are also part of this train, both helping with dynamic braking purposes since the Big Boy does not have dynamic braking. Number 1616 is painted in the Abraham Lincoln Heritage Scheme, honoring the 16th President of the United States. UP 1776 honors America's 250th birthday in the year 2026 with a sticker emblem on both sides of the locomotive. Dickens is seen carefully backing up the train to a stop, using radio communication between Ed and the conductor at the rear car. Once Ed stops the train, he does one long blast of the whistle, indicating they are stopped. The Big Boy has a Hancock long bell 3-chime whistle that sounds purely amazing. Ed Dickens puts a blue safety banner on the side of 4014. This means that the locomotive will be worked on by the crew members. Each crew member has to place their key onto the banner, and the locomotive cannot be moved or operated in any way until each man retrieves his key. The Union Pacific Steam Team, Utah Transit Authority employees, and local police can all be seen talking after Ed and his crew disembark from the train. Some Steam Team employees are also working on 4014. This concludes the first leg of the chase for the big boy. The train would head railroad west the next day for California, and heading eastward for Ogden a few weeks later. It's 8 a.m. on Monday, April 20th, 2026. The Ogden, Utah yard is filled with people watching as the big boy prepares to depart eastward towards Evanston, Wyoming. Today, they are separating the train. UP 4014 will lead solo with a couple of passenger cars from Union Pacific's Heritage Fleet, as well as some grain and sandhoppers we will see later. The weather is actually warm today with highs in the 60s, much more favorable than the weather we endured on the 4014's westbound trip.
I want him to stop going and then have to stop quickly. That's not how it works.
Jason, have fun. With your friends? Yeah.
With two sounds of the whistle, meaning a forward movement, Big Boy is ready to pull down through the yard to detach from the train. Lots of steam spews out of 4014 as it moves. As it comes by, notice how massive those driving wheels really are. The train stops and one of the conductors shuts the angle cock valve on UP 1616. The angle cock is a valve to the train's brake pipe. When disconnecting a train, always shut the angle cock of the locomotive or car that you are taking with you. The other should stay open. After shutting the angle cock, the conductor shuts off all the rest of the air hoses between one of the water tenders and UP 1616. A 3-tap horn sequence is played by UP 4014 and UP 1616. This indicates they will be making a reverse movement. The engineer of 1616 backs up and disconnects from the train. The 2 diesels will be sitting here for a few. Now it's Big Boy's turn to make the reverse movement. The Big Boy stops right in front of us as the conductors are lining switches for their movement. Once they are all lined up, Ed Dickens makes everybody jump by sounding 3 blasts of the whistle. A UTA front-runner commuter train can be heard sounding its horn at the Big Boy, but the Big Boy's whistle is no match. A Union Pacific intermodal train passes in the background. In front of us comes a Union Pacific local. This shows that no matter what is happening, the railroad still runs. Leading is UP 9908, an electromotive diesel or EMD SD59M-2 type locomotive. Trailing behind us is UP 4751, an EMD SD70M type locomotive. It is now time for Big Boy 4014 to pull with only 3 of the Heritage Fleet passenger cars in tow. They pass UP 1616 and 1776 waiting to do their moves. In the first car of the train stands a man who helped weld the Big Boy together, Austin Baker. Austin is a member of the Union Pacific Steam Team. The Utah state flag along with the American flag wave in the wind on the front of the Big Boy. With the big boy out of the way and into the Riverdale yard just south of us, the 2 Heritage diesels can attach to the rest of the Heritage Fleet passenger cars. Making multiple moves in the yard, the conductor lines some switches and checks his switch points before making each move. Once his train is ready, they will follow the big boy eastward. Now stopped at the Riverdale yard, we can take a look at the sheer size of this locomotive. They will be attaching 8 grain and sand hoppers to take to Cheyenne here.
Hold your hand and put it and say, what is happening?
A Union Pacific yard train is seen backing up towards the last Heritage passenger car. One of the conductors protects the shove from the ground, giving the engineer of the yard train car counts until the train comes to a stop. The 2 trains make a good hook, and the conductor gets permission to go in between, lace the air hoses, and make sure both angle cocks are turned so air is flowing in the brake pipe. The cars are attached, the crew is ready to go, and Ed Dickens calls the highball for Ogden. They are ready to head up the uphill grade to Evanston. After 2 blasts of the whistle, the train starts pulling, and now the chase is on. Due to better weather conditions compared to a few weeks ago, traffic was backed up for miles, as you can imagine. We see Big Boy chugging through Uinta. The highway pacing and chasing begin near Mountain Green, passing through some spring foliage. Big Boy continues to chug up the nearly 0.7% uphill grade near Morgan. Big Boy also meets a westbound Union Pacific mixed freight. The snow-capped mountains and greenery at Enterprise give way to the 4014, making this a great backdrop. The grade is starting to get heavy for the Big Boy as black exhaust billows out the top between Enterprise and Morgan. Morgan, Utah is again a whistle stop for the big boy. A local school took a field trip to see the big boy in action. The children kept chanting, "Blow the horn!" Ed Dickens, the engineer, heard this chant and did not disappoint. The big boy would be stopped in Morgan for approximately 20 minutes before continuing eastward. After Big Boy departed Morgan, UP 1616 and 1776 along with the rest of the Heritage Fleet passenger cars follows 4014 eastward. The engineer and conductor were very friendly, giving a horn salute to all they saw. Echo, Utah, a city home to about 83 people and beautiful Red Rock Canyon walls. Just east of Echo, Big Boy thunders uphill rounding a curve. Very neat to see the articulation of this incredible locomotive. East of Echo and just off to the side of Highway 84, Big Boy continues on with lots of traffic on the highway.
Detector milepost 936.6. Hot box, north, rail, axle,
At a location known as Castle Rock, which is famous for getting great shots of trains against the red rocks, the main lines on Union Pacific's Evanston subdivision split off. Main track number 1 is the upper track, and main track number 2 is the lower track. UP 4014 is routed on main track number 2. A trackside defect detector isn't used for such hot wheels to be going over it, giving a hotbox defect alert on axle 2 of the train. The big boy goes through tunnels before emerging on the side of this mountain.
axle 3 from head of train. Second, hot box, south, rail, axle 3. UP detector milepost 936.6. Track 2. First, hot box, north, rail, axle 2 from head of train. Second, hot box, south, rail, axle 2. Total axle 3.
Full steam ahead, Big Boy heads east on the steep Wahsatch Grade. Evanston, Wyoming, home to roughly 11,800 residents and home to Big Boy 4014 for the night. Evanston was founded in 1868 and was mainly a tent camp area for construction workers who created the first transcontinental railroad. Evanston would later be a big locomotive servicing hub and train crew base. A new diesel locomotive would be placed onto the train set of the Big Boy here in Evanston. UP 7771 is a General Electric AC45 CCTE type locomotive. However, the crew on UP 7771 was having issues with the computer screens inside the locomotive, so Big Boy 4014 was sent to the rescue.
So I wonder if those
We were in the right spot.
Austin Baker is seen riding the shove and using hand signals to hook up to UP 7771. He rides the shove, stops the train, and makes the hook from the ground.
those tracks. Well, you got to build those things. They're fixed. You don't fix wheels on them. They don't turn.
For everyone down on this end where they're...
My brother stayed here.
Big Boy 4014 is now hooked up to UP 7771. Ed then gives the crowd a whistle show. This concludes the chase of the Big Boy on its 250th anniversary tour. If you like this video and want to see more railroad related content in the future, drop us a like and subscribe. As always, thank you for watching.